Hi, welcome. Thank you for coming to my session today. I'm going to talk about how we use Tableau. It's STERIS Corporation, specifically a division of STERIS called STERIS Isomedix Services. And a little background on myself. Oops. I've been with STERIS about 15 years now, all of that time in IT at STERIS. Prior to that, I was in IT and in logistics and supply chain at BF Goodrich Specialty Chemicals. And that division got purchased by Lubrizol Corporation a few years back. They're still in business, but under a different name. Then this is my 5th conference for Tableau, and but the first time I'm speaking at a conference. There's a couple Ohio companies last year that kind of shamed me into getting up here and talking since they were doing it last year. So I figured I had a couple of contacts from Tableau, in fact, of asking questions about validation of Tableau and if I've done it before. And I figured that since some people are asking about it and Tableau is contacting me to offer some advice and what little I have, but that this may be an opportunity to tell some people about what we're doing with it and let you know. My education background, I was computer science major from John Carroll University in Cleveland and MBA from Case Western Reserve University. What I'm going to talk about today is I'll give you a little bit of overview on what STERIS Corporation does and then get into how we use Tableau, and then get into Tableau validation. And then finally, I wanted to show some examples of some of the vizzes that we've created. Some of them are validated, some of them are not. As I'll describe here, we don't validate everything that we do. There's only certain things that kind of go into our quality system that really need that level of detail. But I'll give you some examples of how we're using it. Division, again, Isomedix is a service industry, so the division that I'm involved with doesn't make a product, we just provide a service. And so it's a little different way of having to look at how you create vizzes for something where you're not building widgets or manufacturing or doing something like that. So I'll show some examples of that. All right, getting into the overview part. STERIS Corporation started in 1987. It was founded by a couple people who had this idea of a desktop cold process sterilizer for pretty much for endoscopes and that type of thing. So for reusable healthcare equipment. That's how the company started, was with that one device. They had since grown the business into a global leader for infection prevention, contamination control, surgical, and critical care technologies. Our healthcare division is much larger than the division that I'm in, and we provide everything you see in those pictures there, from lighting to OR, a lot of the equipment that goes into the operating room. One of the major products that STERIS also provides are the steam sterilizers and the sterilizers that are built into the hospitals that are used to sterilize reusable devices. And we also do liquid soaps and cleaning agents, and have some systems with vaporized hydrogen peroxide that we sell. About 7,000 employees worldwide. The headquarters is based in that little red county up in the northeast Ohio, right on the Lake Erie. It's in Mentor, Ohio, about 30 miles east of Cleveland. And the company started, we grew by acquisition, so the company started in 1987, but soon thereafter they acquired American Sterilizer Company, that was a company founded in 1894. So the roots of the company go way back, but and then we've been growing by acquisition ever since. Recently bought US Endoscopy, which is another company right across the street from us, and have also purchased recently some other service companies that go into hospitals and provide cleaning services and such. Well, for STERIS Isomedix Services, we're the contract sterilization piece of STERIS. So what that means is people will send their products to us. We will sterilize them with either gamma irradiation or ethylene oxide gas, and then send them back off to usually their end supplier or end customer. So we're the last chain or last link in their supply chain to get product so they can make money. So we're always focused on trying to get the things in and out of our buildings as quickly as possible, but as quality effective as possible as well, making sure that we're following the proper specifications and doing the work that the customer wants us to do. The color coding here, the red are the ethylene oxide facilities. We've got 3 facilities that are shared with 2 different technologies, one up in the Massachusetts area, and one in South Carolina, and one in El Paso, Texas, where they do gamma and ethylene oxide. And most of the locations are based around hotbeds of medical device manufacturers. So in the Northeast, we have some folks from Johnson & Johnson here, and Johnson & Johnson is one of our biggest customers, in fact, in these plants. So we have a lot of plants located in those areas that where the customers are based and located. A little bit about the technology. Gamma radiation is this is a picture of a source rack, we call it, and this is actually a rack that's submerged in 20 feet of water. If you happen to be next to that rack when it was pulled up out of the water, you wouldn't live too long to tell about it. What the cobalt-60 actually passes through products that are still in the boxes and just kills the germs and the bugs that are on them. Kind of changes their molecular structure and causes them not to be able to reproduce, and effectively kills any organism that's on the product. So we don't actually take product out of boxes when we sterilize it. So if a customer provides us a medical device or a kit, it usually stays in the packaging it came to us in. We'll put it in some metal totes that pass by this source rack and back out of the chamber. The chamber itself is 6-foot concrete walls that have a maze type structure, so that the radiation bounces enough times that it won't exit the bunker, they call it. And there's never any transfer of radiation from the cobalt-60 to the product during that process. For ethylene oxide gas, we have chambers similar to this. This is a picture from our El Paso facility, where product is by forklift is sent into the chamber. The doors are closed. The ethylene oxide gas is pumped into the chamber, and then the product is pulled out and put into an aeration room, and where it off gases and gets all the other residual gas that could have been accumulated inside the product out of it before it gets shipped off to the customer. Some of the products that we are sterilize in gamma sterilization are medical devices. All the Band-Aids, adhesive bandages, the Band-Aid brand adhesive bandages are sterilized by us in several of our locations. Implants, catheters, gloves, gowns, anything that goes into a hospital environment. And some other consumer products like spices and dog treats are also sterilized, because some dog treat manufacturers found out that kids will pick up a dog treat with salmonella on it and put it in their mouth, and then they have the problem. So some dog treats are even sterilized with gamma radiation. The ethylene oxide gas takes longer for the cycle to go through. So a lot of customers like to use gamma, but sometimes plastics and things like that won't withstand the radiation levels. They'll get brittle, discolor. So that's why ethylene oxide gas is used for some of these things, not all gamma. Okay, I'm going to get into how we use Tableau. I bought my first Tableau desktop license in 2009, and it wasn't until I came to the conference in 2010 that I actually started using it. So it kind of sat in my computer, didn't know what to do with it. And I had to come to the conference. I was at Sheraton right down the street in 2010 to actually get myself to use it. I went to some hands-on training courses and finally figured out how to use the product. So after that, in 2011, we went to Tableau Server, and we added 60 server licenses at that time. And then we added 4 additional desktop licenses. So we still have 5 desktop licenses right now. And then in 2012, we added 52 more server licenses. So that's where our count's at right now. 112 on the server, and all of those except for, I think, 1 license are currently used. Our breakdown by who uses Tableau in our division: operations and quality are the top 2. There's 38 people in operations. This is across all 20 of those locations, and our quality systems regulatory compliance group. There's 28 licenses assigned to them. So we have quality managers and plant managers in each one of our facilities. So a lot of those are the analysts that are in those locations that are using Tableau Server. And then we have a geographic sales force that has 15 people that are getting sales revenue data, and then so on and so on. We've touched pretty much all of the different departments. We're starting to get more people into maintenance, in the maintenance group involved with Tableau. They have a program called Total Productive Maintenance, where they're trying to collect better data to assess downtime on equipment and to proactively fix equipment prior to it breaking. Because a lot of our products, especially within the gamma environment, when they're subject to radiation for that long, they break down over time. And then we have a lot of conveyors and a lot of moving parts that move stuff in and out of that chamber. So there's a lot of things that they have to keep focus on. So we're getting into the maintenance area finally. Health and safety and finance and human resources are also using it all as well. Here's some examples, and I'll show you actual examples of these afterwards. In fact, this one up in those who are from Johnson & Johnson, this one up in the corner here is actually a Johnson & Johnson chart that we use to track different divisions of J&J and what the volumes are and where they're at in the plants and that kind of thing. But we have a sales revenue. We use it for sales revenue. Turn time is a big one, where we are constantly monitoring our turn time to make sure products are getting in and out of our locations as quickly as possible. We don't have a lot of warehousing space, and our customers really don't want us keeping their product longer than we need to. So I'll show you a few examples of those. Event tracking, that's the major one that required me to get into validation of Tableau. And the event tracking is tracking our customer complaints, our nonconformities, and audit findings, anything that needs to be tracked from a quality perspective. And what was happening is our quality group was spending about 25 people or so were spending 4 to 6 hours a month mining data in different systems, transcribing it into Excel, and then going to meetings to talk about that data. And so there were a ton of errors in the data to begin with, because you're transcribing stuff from different systems and copying, pasting, and all that kind of thing. Let alone the time it takes, 4 to 6 hours per person per month, to go through and gather all of that and put it in one spot. And what we've done in Tableau is take that process down to a 5-minute refresh once a month to go out and grab that data, bring it into a tracking dashboard, and have that displayed for them. So it's captured from the system that the data originates from. There's no transcription errors. There's no interpretation of values, and that's what drove having to perform a validation of our first set of vises. That event tracking is used in our quality system meetings that are held monthly at each of the plants. And then process inventory, we're constantly trying to expand plant locations or expand capacity. And a lot of times we need to figure out what customers can move to what location. Customers rarely want to spend more on shipping than they have to. So we are always looking at where we can move a customer from, depending on where they're shipping their product to us from. And then finally, health and safety is a critical area for us as well. That chart there is showing unsafe acts, unsafe conditions, and safe acts and safe conditions. And we do safety rounds constantly of people monitoring, walking around the plant looking for things that could be considered safe or unsafe activities or actions. And those are tracked in Tableau. And our human resources data is also tracked in Tableau. And as soon as I get through the validation piece, I'll bring up some of these so you can see them in more detail. Validation, getting to that now. The FDA has, those of you who are probably in healthcare have seen this before. This is from their guidelines that were published in 2011 on what they consider validation to mean to folks. And so it just says make sure that it's meeting the standard and it performs what it's supposed to do. I kind of like the Health Canada version of this better. It's a little less wordy, just saying demonstrating that it works or it consistently leads to expected results, and that's what you're trying to get at when you're trying to do a validation. Is making sure that every time you do something that the application will produce the same result each time, and documenting that result is what you're getting each time. So Tableau fits with GAMP is the committee that has kind of put categories around different software applications. You can consider Tableau a cross between commercial off-the-shelf software and a configured product. So it kind of falls in between categories 3 and 4. But for purpose of this discussion and purposes of how we've validated things, we consider it an off-the-shelf software. And we're not validating Tableau per se, but we're validating how we use Tableau and the things that we do to Tableau to make it fit in our need. Documentation that we collect, and I'll go through some examples. At the end of this, I have my email, or it's also in the app, the Data 14 app, where if you'd like to get a copy of a template of these, I will be more than happy to get that out to you. I probably won't get it out before the end of September because I have to I ran out of time to take what we had and distill it down and get it into a format where I could share. But I'll keep enough content in there so you know what's going on. And I find it valuable to have something to follow. It may not fit your need exactly, but it's at least you're not starting with a blank piece of paper. So you can go to the app and send me an email, or I'll have the email at the end, and just send me an email and I will get it out to you as soon as I can. But we follow the same types of things that a normal validation approach in a system development lifecycle would need. A plan of approach, what the requirement is, how the viz was designed, and where the elements are coming in from, and a test protocol, and then a results and summary report of what you did. So nothing different. We're just taking exactly how you would validate a piece of software or another computer system and just translating it into how we do it with how we create Tableau, a Tableau Viz. The 4 things that I've focused on, now there may be some other elements that you use like actions and things like that may also need to be considered, but the 4 things that I've considered in our validation are where the data is coming from, how you connect to it and extract it, the filters that are used in the data, that you create, either behind the scene filters or the ones that you allow users to interact with, and in the calculated fields that you use. First off, data sources. what I like to do when I document data sources is, this is not really a piece in Tableau, but it's making sure that you understand where your data is coming from and have a good map of that. So be it a bunch of tables. We do all of a lot of our data comes from Microsoft SQL Server. So SQL Server has database design tools that you can show table structures and get a good understanding of where your data is coming from. And also, if you've got things like this example over here was a picture of just showing how the data comes into the event tracking dashboard, the one that was validated. So we have a source of data for damages that comes from an Excel worksheet, but everything else is coming from a third-party application. The ones in the gray box are a third-party application that we use for collecting our nonconformities, customer complaints, past due events, and root cause codes for the analysis of what happened to cause that event to occur. And then things from our system, our homegrown application, we call ODMSRT. We get information out of that as well. And then, so making sure your data sources are well documented and you understand where the data is coming from, that needs to be one of the key pieces of the design. And making sure that when you talk to your users who are requesting the data or requesting a viz of some sort, making sure that you completely understand where the data would be coming from and how it would be sourced. Connecting to that data, this is the second area to review. This was focusing on describing how the data is selected from your sources, and then if you need to exclude any data, so if you're using a data extract and you're doing any exclusions, those need to be well documented as to reasons why you're excluding it and why you're not bringing that information in, what the purpose and rationale for that exclusion is. And over on the side there was another page from our write-up on our design. Is just again showing all the databases that are being touched in this example, and then getting down into the select statements that are used to feed each and every one of those data sources. I think we have about 8 to 10 different data sources are coming into one of those vizes. So it gets quite lengthy with spelling out all of how it's put together, but it's important to have it documented well, not only in the raw statements of how the data is selected, but in a picture if you have that ability to do that. Third area is the filters. So in the design document, we would have an area where, depending on whatever filters you have set up that are either available for use as a quick filter, or are just filters behind the scenes that are used specifically on that one page or one viz. Knowing where they're used and what worksheets and what data source it's coming from, and then describing what that filter is. And then there's some additional columns that I didn't put on here, but provides more comments and details about why this filter exists or what the purpose is. Again, just documenting everything that goes into each and every page is helpful. Then having a cross-reference to where each one of those, if you're using some of these filters as a global filter across all the worksheets that are referencing that data source, making sure that they belong in each one of those pages, that you have that set as a global filter. Or if the one thing also is if it's a subset, if it's only used in a few of those pages, not all, making sure you know why and documenting why it's not used in one page versus the others. And the fourth area is the calculated fields. Very important to make sure you know. This is where I get tripped up every now and then, especially with table calculations. Make sure I got the right, get it set properly. I may be using this for 5 years, but I'm not an expert in Tableau yet at all. And but the making sure that I document each and every one of the calculated fields and how they're used, what the table calculations are that are being used, and then again having these clearly defined as to what they're named, what the type of the field is, what the formula is that you're using, where it's coming from, and any references of where it's being used within your viz or the worksheets. Now the templates I'm going to send out, if anyone requests them, I'll have these tables and things in here with examples that you can just follow from to say this is where you can fill in that information. And then also, especially with calculated fields, I go the extra effort of spot checking the calculations with some other validated source of data. So going back to, we have this custom app I told you that we control all of our flow of inventory in and out of our building and all the specification assignments. I'll go back to that database and take that calculated field and create its equivalent in that data source and make sure that it produces the same result. And hopefully it's done where you're not having to rewrite something, but you have some other source that's already in a validated system that produces that result. And showing that evidence in the final validation is important as well. That you know that the calculation works in two different spots and not just one, not just in Tableau. Finally, the test protocol and documentation of the testing. This is just an example of one that we did. This is just one page where the test indicated that we should randomly select three, in this example, PCV values or percent coefficient of variation. And this was a viz that was done showing our dosimeter readings. And if we have a percent, if somebody reads the dosimeter to find out how much dose a product got, and for some reason they have to go through a rereading process to verify that dose, we validate that the reread dose match or is closely matched to the original. And if it's not, if the percent coefficient of variation between the original and the reread is above 2% or above 3%, then we have a problem, or we have something that has to be investigated further. So in this example, we selected three random rows out of this worksheet just to show why I picked three. Three is usually a good number of, it's number, I don't know if it says in the guidelines to use three, but I've always been told 3 tests are the best. And don't do it once, don't do it twice, do it 3 times. And so we picked 3 of each. So we picked 3 values from the top area, top chart, and then 3 values from the bottom chart. And in that red one that was highlighted, the percent coefficient of variation there was 18% or something close to that. So then what I did, I went back over to our SQL database and ran a validated statement up on the top there that you can't see this, but down here it showed that number that the system outside of Tableau generated the same value, the 18% value. So, and we would repeat that for each of those 3, so that and what you normally do here is somebody writes the protocol and then hands it off to someone else, so you're not pre-selecting the 3 values that you know are right, and just so they randomly pick whatever they want. I added the highlighting here just to say those are the 3 different things that we did, but you want to get it as blind a test as possible, so that you're not setting up a situation where you know it's going to pass, and then providing another validated source where that information can be verified outside of Tableau. So this is not using Tableau at all, of course. And then grabbing these screen images and then putting them into the test protocol as evidence that it did what it expected to do. It could become difficult on some calculated fields to get examples of each and every one of the cases where you're trying to validate. We've had a couple of those cases as well. We try to do the best we can in terms of documenting evidence that it is providing the best result. So that's, and then once the testing is done, we'll write a summary report with any deviations or corrective actions that were taken within that the test protocols, and then circulate for signature, and then that becomes document that's available for any FDA audit or customer audit, for that matter, if they want to see it. In summary of the validation piece, we've always said just try to keep it simple. Tableau is a middle of the road in terms of the GAMP classification of the software. So as you move down that level from level 1 down to level 5, the risk is more at the level 5 types of software that are completely custom apps. Tableau being a commercial off-the-shelf software that's used by lots of customers. The core of Tableau gets validated every day with its use, and and then bugs will get reported through forums and that kind of thing if they're found. So we're not validating Tableau, but we're validating how we're using it. So don't go overboard with how you approach the validation. And then focus. What I've done is I focus on the customizations of how we're changing the system, or what we're doing to add to the system. And then finally, this consulting with your quality group, just to make sure that what their expectations are what you're providing in terms of the output of the validation. There's my email address, or I'm on the Data 14 app, has everybody's contact information there as well. Ronald.Nygaard@steris.com. And also, if you can take time in the Data 14 app to do the survey results, that would be greatly appreciated as well. And thank you for attending.